Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Cherise. Good afternoon to our Facebook followers and those listening in to Straight Up Conversation about Education, sponsored by the university, right here on Massive 103.5 FM. And it is 3 o'clock on the dot.
Yes, yes, yes. And we're somebody with excellence.
Yes.
Is our motive. So, welcome. We really welcome you back today. And it's just before Flag Day. So, tomorrow is Pride.
Yes.
Pride. We are going to celebrate, but we must celebrate responsibly. So, everybody out there, our Facebook listeners, our viewers, welcome to Straight Up Conversation about Education. Deborah, would you like to introduce our guest?
Yes, our guests, well, actually, both our guests are both related to the university, not working in the university as well. Well, one of them, yes, not, but both of them have held, and one is actually at the moment holding a position in the board at the University of Aruba. And they're both from St. Nicholas, both men. So it's all about the men today. No other than Mr. Angelo Breite. Angelo, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Deborah and Charisse.
Welcome, welcome. We're really happy that you are here, not because only you're a member of the board, but you have done so much. Your trajectory is really, really impressive. And we have a lot of questions, so we're going to start right off. But let's first start with your educational trajectory. Explain us, where you started and how did that continue?
So, first of all, have been a long time that I'm in a radio station.
So when was the first time?
Maybe 25 years ago.
Doing what?
On a radio station. So I get nervous. Bear with me.
Oh, you, Angelo? Can't believe that.
In front of the caption and do a show, and in front of other people, I can be very shy. Anyway, thank you for having me. And to your question, Charisse, I was born and raised in St. Nicholas. I am not ashamed or verlegen to say my age. I'm 55 years old.
Woohoo!
Had ik niet gedacht. Had ik niet gedacht.
Thank you. I went to school at the graduate school in Graven-Zissendorp, in Mennestraat.
Nice.
And after that, I went to Jurassic College.
Mhm.
And after the Jurassic College, I went to Collegium.
St. Nicholas.
Mennestraat.
Oh.
Here, I went I'm a HAVO student, HAVO student. And after that, I chose to go to Curaçao. It was back in 1985 when it was the first time, or the last time, that the government of Aruba extended verse.
To go to.
I think it was 86 and forward, it was Studieleningen.
Yeah.
We were the last group that got a studieverse from back then, the Arab Aruba. And that's why my student loan is very low.
Very low.
Already.
Good, because I was going to ask one of his assistants, actually, as heads up, to look into his monetary background. Let's talk. We will get there. We'll get there.
So, and talking about the tuition figures, remember, next week, Thursday, we change from March 30th to March 25th. We're going to have a virtual open home at the University of Aruba. And that means everybody, right? Potential students, parents, those interested, want to learn more about lifelong learning and everything that the university offers. So you at home and listeners on Massive 103.5, remember, mark your calendar. You can go to our Facebook, you can go to our website, and remember, register so you are on time to hear what we have to offer. Back to you, Deborah.
And now back to Angelo. So how was it to go to Curaçao, just 15 minutes away to study?
So it was a challenge. Curaçao we speak the same language, but it's a completely it's a different island. I learned a lot. I learned to become mature, to live for yourself. Even though we had a campus, you didn't have to live for yourself. But it was a very nice experience. I love Curaçao. Curaçao is a beautiful island. They're really beautiful people. And I went to the Social Economics Faculty, which is the FEF at our university.
Yeah, CEF, I think now, yeah.
5 universities that did not exist.
Right.
So it was a pretty cool period of my life.
And then you finished?
Yeah, of course I did.
And then?
When I finished, I came back to work at the ABN bank. I can make promotion because it doesn't exist anymore.
No.
I worked there for a year. And after that, I quickly got a feeling and understood that I needed a master's degree. It was a bachelor's degree in Curacao.
Okay.
I did bestuurskunde, which is public management, public administration,
Mhm.
and I chose to work for a year, and then I continued my studies in Groningen, University of Groningen.
Another of my favorites. Groningen, shout. Yes.
Nijmegen,
Na-
sorry.
Groningen.
They're more beautiful cities, but Groningen
You see, that's why I like Angela. That's why I like it.
is a beautiful city.
And then you went to Groenrug, at the rug.
I went to the Rug, and I did bedrijfskunde, business
Yeah.
administration, and I went for 2 years because after the UNA, back then you had a schakelprogramma and a prima's, all this stuff. In 2 years, you have your
Yeah, and,
doctorate. So that is what I did. And I took 4 years over that. You know why? Because after the doctoral, I chose to do accountancy as a major.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So
Specialisering.
2 years to do the specialisering. It was very nice. Actually, I didn't want to leave Groningen because I love Netherlands.
You see.
But I'm very happy I went to Curacao before because maybe, you know, when you're very young and you go back to this big country, maybe I didn't could not make it. No, so I think Curacao was a very good pre-step to continue.
So in,
Yeah, maybe the University of Aruba is as well. And
Yes.
before, I remember the time I was studying, I didn't even know the university exists because they didn't have so many programs. But now
That
we
is true.
do.
that is
You
true.
know, we have about 9 programs in total. And the thing is, we have an international opportunity. We didn't have that before.
Erasmus exchange.
But you know, I know you're talking about your trajectory, but why were you always interested in numbers? Did you have that as a young person? You were always interested in numbers and knowing what's happening, or is it something that along the way you got interested about?
Interesting question. This is the first time I'm going to say this on the radio.
Okay, it's a premiere. Yeah, yeah.
Numbers did not attract me. What I wanted to do is bestuurskunde, public administration, because I wanted to become a politician. I didn't do political science.
Wow.
But back then I chose that.
This year was a political year.
Yeah.
I'm not searching for no political parties.
Let's disclaimer, you know? Disclaimer, next thing people are like, oh, Angelo came on your show.
I'm not doing that.
Just being clear. So you act, and why? Because this is a political year, and I think somewhere during the year we'll see how we can incorporate the aspect of politics. But why did you want to go into politics? What was it?
Everyone thinks that finding your passion in life is finding this specific job or hobby. You need to become a doctor, you need to become an accountant. You know, I think differently. Passion in life is what makes you happy. And what makes me happy, what gives me satisfaction, is I can give myself privately a clap on the shoulder, a shoulder clap, how to say
Yeah.
in Dutch, that because of my efforts, I could have a influence on the bigger picture.
And
That's
that's
why. So I think the politicians have a beautiful job. They have the opportunity to make changes for on a national level. And I always used to like that. And find the passion, the work I do, I still do that. I work on a national level.
that is
I
true.
had, I chose to put my efforts towards doing something for the country.
But
I know that.
he already kind of jumped into it because you know what Angelo did not mention is that he worked at Deloitte and Touche back then, you know, and then he worked at the University of Aruba.
As a lecturer and business director.
I think he was like the first business
Yes, he
director
was the
that
very first
that
business
the university knew then.
The
Yeah.
ladies read my CV, my resume, all
Yes, we're always prepared. This dynamic duo is always prepared.
Angelo, it's all just the same what you teach your students. It's all in the preparation. As for everyone looking in, it's all in the preparation. I know sometimes she says, Debbie, prepare. And it's true, but it's also because we know you and we have people people around you who are you know learned also, and the experience you gained from working with a minister back then and before going into your current job. And I was curious for people, who, as you said at the beginning, you wanted to become a politician. Going into politics, you can help a bigger purpose. I think, the community normally thinks, oh, in a politico, ta just pensar iba na miss. What is the one myth you would like to take out of the ear, just to put it like that, about politicians, because as you said, it takes guts, and I just want to refrain, whether we agree or not, sometimes with their, method or whatever it is, it takes guts sometimes to stand up and take the lash instead of standing on the sideline and only, complaining and complaining. So that's one of the things I would like to say, that whether we might agree with the color and, whatever, it takes guts.
Yes.
It takes guts. So what was one of the myths in the period that you worked with, previous minister, that you thought, if people could know one thing, and what would it be that you would want them to know?
I think we have many politicians, and I can mention names. I won't do that, but in all political parties, there are good people that do great job. No, not all politicians. No, this is not nationwide, worldwide. People are getting fed up with how countries are governed and managed. So it's not something particular to us.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. It's the same thing. And one thing I can say is that a very good friend of mine told me once, what is politician eigen, something that pertains to a politician, is that they always have to verdelen heers, to divide the Congo, to be able to gather votes, to be able to do something. So there's something inherent to them. So we need to just accept that, and we as the general public don't get involved in that. Be aware that that is what politicians do, and focus on those great things that many of them say they're going to do, and keep them accountable.
That's important.
So
Keeping
support them in accomplishing great things.
yes, that, and we the people have power. I think we underestimate that as well.
Exactly.
We have the power.
Thank you for pointing that out.
No, I think it'd be amazing if we don't realize that we have a power to change the world, and if we all unite, then it will definitely happen.
We don't have to wait on this big leader, this most eerlijk guy, the most
Honest.
honest,
Yeah.
and the person with the best integrity ever to make changes. It starts with us.
Yeah.
Yes, but having said that,
Yes.
and I
Yes, I
really, I want people to really pay attention to this, because although we're going to talk about financial
Yeah.
matters, I think this is very important, especially this year, which is, today in the Netherlands.
Oh, yes.
Election, it's the 17, when we just saw what happened in America. So let us learn from that, and let us really be informed of what's going on and why you choose. But don't choose because you're getting afraid or whatever. Let's throw old politics out the door. But we're here because,
Not for politics, but about straight up conversation.
Yes, but politics is also part of straight up
Yeah. Not too in depth. Not
We'll
too.
never get politics out of our lives.
I know. But, as Charissa said, we are here because there's a highly secretive conversation that we would like to address, and plays a very important role in your day-to-day work. As you said, it's secretive, but it also involves numbers, which you didn't want to do, but you end up becoming the expert on it. So can you tell our audience what it is that you do in your daily work?
No, it's not very secretive. No, I work for the. I'm going to be in office for 2 years now at the Financial Intelligence Unit of Aruba. So it's called the Melbourne Ongelbereikte Transacties in Dutch. Soon we're going to change the name to an English name because it's more internationally renowned, right?
Yeah.
So what is not very secretive what we do. What we do is explained in law. It's set in law. We collect financial data, unusual financial transactions. We get them to a central point, and we get them from banks, from casinos, from car dealers, jewelry shops, and different
You,
instances.
you know,
Most-
when you hear about irregular transaction, you're thinking about, like before the Al Pacino kind of thing, the big
Uh-huh.
guys, the wash machine. That's, I think, that's where they got it from. But what does have to do with you and me in the community? Because I feel those are only maybe people who are big
Yeah.
spenders or so. Does that have directly to do with me?
Mhm.
What can
Yeah.
I do to make sure I'm not part of an irregular transaction? I think that's a better
Yeah.
question.
And then when you get to Al Pacino, because you're really, really wrong, and then expect the worst.
Oh, then no.
Not
Then
the
our next
boss.
guest,
Not
our
the
next
boss,
guest
not
will
the
come
police.
and deal with her.
Exactly.
Our next guest will come. So stay pending for our next guest.
Exactly. But the point is, it's a very good question, Satish. The point is that without knowing, you as a citizen, as an individual, can get involved in some unusual stuff that you did not previously know about. And to explain that, for instance, I can ask you. I would never do that, but I will tell you, Sharice, I need to send money to some acquaintance in the Netherlands, and then I'll pay you some small commissions to use your bank account to transfer money to another bank account. And you will do that because Andrew's a good guy.
Yeah,
He looks very Catholic. He goes to church every day, or whatever you can, or
And he can
whatever
fire
religion.
us. I mean, not no.
Uh-huh.
Why say no?
Why would I say
So
no?
what I'm doing is I'm laundering my dirty money through you.
Being
to
innocent, thinking I'm just helping you.
uh-huh.
Is that what they call smurfing or something like that?
That is no. The smurfing is, for instance, when you go to the bank, and no, there are rules. No, you cannot go with 25,000 guilders in cash, floating in cash, to the bank, because they will ask you where did you get the money. You have to, and maybe you
Okay.
have that cash, and there's nothing wrong, right? But people to get you off guard will come every day with 1,000, with 5,000, with
Yeah.
5,000, and then the teller at the bank won't notice. Oh, this one has 25,000. That's smurfing. So I'm gonna come with little. This where the
So we're
rule
giving
comes from.
people tips on how to do it. No,
Little
but but there's compliance, but it's also an idea to understand the transactions that are going to take place on that account. And if something deviates,
Yeah,
then they know where to go to MOT/FIU.
And mostly people would say, or the institution would say, no, those are rules of the FIU, or those are rules of the central bank. Those are not rules from no one. Those are rules, should be rules from yourself, because you need to be a player in safeguarding our financial sector. That's
Right.
what we're doing this work for.
Yeah, and people might think in
Yes.
terms, Sharice talk about smurfing, but I guess the whole pyramid system is also a
Yeah.
way of,
Laundering.
laundering in a sense, or not.
Can be, or just a way
Can
of.
I just interject?
Sorry.
Could you explain the pyramid system? Because not everybody's going to be prepared.
Yeah.
Could you explain that a bit better? Because if I look at what the task and responsibilities of FIU is really to make sure you analyze and register all information, financial information you have.
Yeah.
So could you explain a bit so our audience can understand? And again, sorry, Facebook listeners, it's the internet this time because we got it under control. But we're speaking with Mr. Angelo Breite from the MOT of FIU, yes,
Yes.
and he's explaining how you should be vigilant on what you're doing. So could you please explain the pyramid?
Uh, yeah, it's no, you have a lot of different deviation of the pyramid, so there's not one explanation. No?
Okay.
I can't remember. I mean, I'm not sure if you remember the Karat's goal something. That was the scheme.
Yeah.
Pyramid is just it seems to be like I'm going to put money today, and then I'm going to the more money I put in, at the end I'm going to earn so much money.
Yeah.
So what they
Too good to
actually
be
do
true.
is too good to be true. But the
Yep.
whole scheme is that I'm going to look for I'm going to recruit you, and your
Alright.
investment is 500, and you're going to recruit Charisse, and she's going to put 500. So when I
Yeah.
That
recruit
sounds familiar.
when I
Mhm.
recruit you, and I was at the bottom of the pyramid, and I'm going to the top, and when I reach the top, I'm going to get this huge sum of
Some
money.
of money.
And the first people that go in, no, they will get that money. But
Yeah.
once that
to
someone did not recruit more people, no, there goes your money. No,
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, this happens so often on the island, and especially
Yes.
young people, are young professionals just getting
Yeah.
into their jobs, having money, say, yeah, I want to invest, because we know that investing is important because that's the way you can make your money grow. However, you have to be careful. So I'm very
Yeah.
thankful that you are explaining this, But what about all this? Everything is online. Everything is online. So I think it's even easier. You don't need the Smurfs anymore because you
Yes.
just need it. So how is Aruba dealing with that, and how should we be vigilant once again?
It's again a very good question, ladies. You really prepared your
Ja-
interview.
you haven't.
Give me
You,
a high five.
high
Give me a
five. High five. High five. High five. High
Don't
five.
just tell me when I have to run out of the radio show.
No, we'll tell you. Once you see someone chair come up, then you'll know.
We're gonna
Just
duck.
We're going to duck.
I know that Deborah knows me more that I like to have a laugh, and
Yes.
something we need to take life seriously, but we need to laugh
Yes.
often and be happy. But the point is that we need the criminals have much more money to invest in new ways and technology to launder money to do bad stuff, and those that have to safeguard the citizens, the financial integrity of the financial system, we cannot keep up with that, but we do. No, we do. So and the reason why we do, because if we don't, we are a small nation. We are part of this huge international network, and if our system is used for laundering money or whatever bad stuff you can think of, they can shut us off internationally, so that we cannot import goods, we cannot buy food,
Affects
because
us.
the other banks internationally would not want to do business with
So it's bigger
with
than
the island
us.
anymore.
It's tricky.
It's
very
really
tricky.
bigger than
It's very
us.
tricky. And in August, if I may, in August this year, Aruba is going to go through the mutual evaluation of the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force. So these people are coming to Aruba, and they're gonna
Oh, wow.
they're gonna
Good to
assess our
know.
system, look at our system to see if our anti-money laundering and the procedures we have to combat the financing of terrorism, if it's sound enough, that we're doing a good job in safeguarding our financial system. So internationally, we're going to get evaluated, and if we don't, if we have like loopholes in our system, no, our country is going to have some
Delicious.
serious issues.
So this, like how in education, you'll talk about the accreditation
Exactly.
of the program
Yes.
that the University of Aruba is going through right now. Every 4 years,
Yes,
our program is
programs.
accredited. So how often does this happen?
No,
This-
it happens. They don't have a specific period, but it happens between 8 and 10 years. So
Oh,
the
wow.
last time we had this evaluation was in 2008, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So there's also, because I saw our other highly secretive guest just came in, but there's one last question, and that's relating to, so we
I have
explain.
one more.
Oh, you have one more.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to relax. So, we spoke about the responsibility of citizens. And for those of you that go to FIU Aruba's website, Cherise will
Yes.
put it up on our Facebook page.
Yes.
fiu-aruba.com, you'll find out everything you need to know, MOT, FIU. But also there's a tab where they speak about your responsibility, your meldplicht. And because no one wants to be, as I say, klokkenleider in Dutch. I was thinking, what's the English word again? I can't remember now. Oh, was klokkenleider. I know.
Whistleblower.
Whistleblower. Oh, God.
Whistleblower.
Duh.
Yes.
But there's an obligation. There's a list of the obligation. But we, again, as citizens, have. And I had the honor, if I may say, in the beginning of February, to host a highly secretive webinar for the FIU Aruba. And one of the speakers gave an example of how citizens, it was an owner of a company, was able to give a tip to a higher organization that eventually caught someone who was money laundering. Of course, people thinking, I ain't going to do that. They ain't going to lock me up. But can you explain to people that responsibility and if there are any consequences, attached to it? Because it is your moral responsibility, but for people not to see things happening, either in your job, in your profession. Explain that later about that meldplicht and de gevolgen daarvan.
Not create confusion, but those that have the meldplicht, the responsibility to file unusual transaction reports, are those entities that are named or mentioned by law, and those are the financial institutions, banks, for instance, money transfer companies, for instance, but also non-financial business providers, and those are accountants, those are lawyers, those are notaries, so it's not everything finance. Also the real estate agents, right? So and the responsibility to report lies at them, in their hands. When they see something, when they provide a service that is unusual, they have the obligation to report it. And if they don't, they're going to have serious problems, not with FIU, but with the supervisory authority, which in this case is Central Bank.
Central Bank of Aruba.
Okay,
that's one thing. And the second thing is, as a consequence, when you get caught doing bad things, those are laws. And that's not the Central Bank is going to imprison you, but the public prosecutor, or by the ministerie. So in our strafboek, there are all those penalties are mentioned.
So, and for the persons working, as you said, if, for example, a real estate agency, they're workers. So for them to also be vigilant and also report it to the one responsible.
Because it's not about being a whistleblower, it's about taking your responsibility
Exactly.
serious.
Yes.
So I have to interject. I'm going to ask everyone from please go to the website, because you have a very interesting article about money laundering and Corona-19, what you had there last. So, we have the website up as a ticker. It's in the comment box. And if you would like to learn more, you can always learn more about it. Go to their website, and perhaps Deborah may even organize an event or something for people
Angelo.
to get a little bit more knowledge. Because
who is
this
FIU?
Is important,
Yes.
And why it is so important that we as citizens play important role.
And as Angelo said, they're not secretive. I think people just need to know that you guys are out there, and those who need to know. But it's still good to inform the community about what the role is of the Financial Intelligence Unit Aruba. I think you had one more question.
Yeah, well, actually I had two, but I'll just bring it on to one because he likes to have a good laugh. We're ready to, so we hope our next guest is already there, hoping, waiting on us. We also know that he's a good cook. So what's going to be on the menu for tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's a cook. We have to taste it, but okay.
I just did some charity work. I'm going to buy barbecue tomorrow.
Really, Angelo?
If I had to cook, I would do a papaya stoba.
Okay.
Yes.
So maybe that's a nice thing. We can do have all our guests cook something. We have a taste. Anybody in for that?
Yeah. So straight up conversation, guest cook up.
Yes, cook up.
No, indeed, Angelo's a wicked cook. Wicked cook, I've heard. Haven't tasted it yet. Anyhow, Angelo, thank you very much. I hope, I don't know if you last words before you leave, because the next person coming in, actually, you guys work very close together.
Yes. We have a very good collaboration with Richardson from the SCTV joining you in a minute, but also many other stakeholders as the Central Bank, the public prosecutors, the financial institutions. They understand very good what their responsibility is. But one thing I would just want to mention that you can question my colleague next to me is about the scams. People think that money laundering is always drug related. No. Sometimes I
talking about that.
I can be very corrupted and do corruption and whatever, and then I have a way to that money that I earn from the corruption to launder it. That's money laundering as well. That's one. And the other thing, and you have many other examples, but just to give you a giveaway, is that in the period of this, in the COVID period,
19, yes.
but in the whole world, many people abuse our citizens. I'm gonna romance you. I'm gonna get your phone number or your Facebook page, whatever, and then I'm gonna have you send me money. And I live in a very other country in the world, and then that $100 I just stole from you because Mamasilaba, and you're in love with me. But I just did it with a million.
That's
another topic. It's another topic. Yeah.
So you can ask my colleague.
Yes, our next is coming up.
So
But
let's-
actually,
You're gonna explain
he's going to explain all about money laundering because it's more than that. It's about transnational crime. So,
exactly.
Angela, on behalf of the University of Aruba, we're really, really thankful that you can be here. We have a lot of people listening
Of
in.
course,
You're
yeah.
getting a lot of regards from your colleagues at the university, but also we got some people walking in. We have Miss Shereen B. and Kimani, who are soca artists from Grenada, living in New York. A shout out to you. They were
Visiting,
here.
yes.
Yes, so they're going to be back. And thank you, our listeners in America. And if you have any questions, please drop a comment in our comment box. Mr. Groeneveld, who was there 2 weeks ago, thank you also for listening in. And thank you so much. And as we get prepared,
You can
for
explain
our
to
other
Aruba Dag.
listener-
You could explain them a bit about it.
Yes, okay. Yes, thank you so much. This is Straight Up Conversation about education, and we're here. This program is powered by University of Aruba, and we just spoke to Mr. Angelo Breiter, and our theme for today is Don't Let Ignorance Get You Involved or be a victim. So it's all about transaction. And as our next guest is preparing, you will understand what we talk when we talk about national transaction. And most of all, again, on Thursday, March 25th, we are going to have an open house, an open virtual house. Because of the COVID, we're not able to open our doors. So we will be having our virtual open house at the University of Aruba, and it's going to be online. So you can go to our Facebook page or go to our University of Aruba website, ua.awe, and sign up. Remember, this is for prospective students from Colegio, APE, Ibero, or high schools, but even parents. Remember, we want you to be a lifelong learner. So I see our next guest is here already. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yes, Mr. Dolphy Richardson. This is the first time, actually, I've never introduced myself to Dolphy.
That's
Dolphy,
true.
I am Deborah. You must have seen emails from me come by the few years that you were Colégio Curatora, Center for
Correct.
Lifelong Learning.
Correct.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much.
And you have the other lovely UA personnel and colleague, Charisse. So we're really, really excited that you and Angela could be here today
Good.
talking about what we consider secretive, Charisse? Yeah.
Yes,
I
yes.
heard you mentioning that word
Yeah.
secretive.
So it feels like it's high, all on the cover, secret services.
Right, and that's why we're so happy because if we say Interpol, people have an idea. But Dolphy, explain this first. Let's talk
Yeah.
about your education trajectory.
Yes.
Let's start with
Because
that.
iba wala medyo biniwit, It's not homework, but let's our audience hear about who you really are, how you started, and how you got, where you are today.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for this opportunity, and I appreciate these kind of programs. So normally, I do not participate in programs, etc. But I
We're
think,
special.
in that sense, exactly. So in that sense, thank you for the invite. As mentioned, I'm just like Angelo. I'm a boy from St. Nicholas, and I'm happy to see when, especially St. Nicholas boys, make it in having these responsibilities and these jobs. So that makes me extra proud to be a boy from the hood, as they say, the boy from Chocolate City, and where the sun does rise. So I went to the Graaf van Sindendorf School.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that was the basis school. After that, we were the guys from the Lange Trap. So after that, I went to the John Wesley College. I must say one of the best.
Another John Wesley.
Another
Shout
John
out to John Wesley. Woot.
Thank you. And after that, we went on to Colegio Urbano, and then left for the Netherlands for different studies.
Because I saw we also have another university in common, the Vrije Universiteit van
Exactly,
Amsterdam.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
my UA. But yeah, I can say you were my university as well. So you
Yes.
did, I remember law, you
Yes,
did there.
and specialize in criminology.
Oh.
Yes.
But you, yeah.
But let me bring back.
Yeah.
When did you know, or was that always your passion? How did you get on that path? Because sometimes we think we want to. We just saw Mr. Breed. He talked about wanted to go into doing political science, end up with
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah.
Yes.
What about yourself?
I was inspired by Waylon Mr. Peterson. He was our first commissioner of police from Lago Heights, and I'm from
Yeah.
Lago Heights originally.
Shout out.
And as you know, he has passed,
Yes,
and he was a
yes.
great man, and he also a very important person in my life. And being a youngster growing up in Lago Heights, what we normally used to do, I would say nowadays kids don't play anymore. Every afternoon we used to play on the street. We'll be playing baseball on the street, and then when the cars pass, then we will have to move, and then
Kids don't
continue
know what
with the
that is
game.
anymore.
Exactly,
Yeah.
they're with the computers and the laptops and the iPads, and we had to play when we were youngsters. And because of the fact that he used to live in Lago Heights, and he used to have to take our road to reach home. So every morning, every afternoon, he will see us playing on the road. He will stop the car. Guys, it's very dangerous what you're doing. Please do not refrain from.
Neighborhood watch.
Exactly, exactly.
Neighborhood watch.
Which was important.
What-
It
yeah.
is not there anymore.
Exactly, and in that sense, so every afternoon we used to anticipate because we knew how late he was coming, so we will make sure, okay, we won't be on the street when he's coming, so we will get off the street, so he wouldn't have to stop and speak to us. But in that sense, we have grown. I don't know why it is, but I noticed he took an interest in me, in my person, at a very young age, and he was talking about criminology, and he wasn't even talking about the police. He was talking about criminology, and I had no idea what he's talking about. I mean, as a young boy.
So there's something he saw in
Yes.
you, unless he thought bad boy going astray or no.
Well, no, I don't know if it was that. but
I'm just
he
asking.
always encouraged.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, and
Now that you mentioned that, sometimes that is why it's so important, because it takes, I always say this old
Takes
quote,
a-
it takes
yes.
a community to raise a child, because
it's so
sometimes
true.
you don't see something that someone else may see in you.
Amen.
And so community, please, it's all of our responsibility together
Yep.
for us to be part of the responsibility of bringing up our children. But back to you, Dolphy.
No, exactly. And that's why anytime I get a chance, I encourage people, especially people in positions that you can make an effort and recognize potential when you see it in the youth. Please embrace that and contribute to that, because it's so important. As I said, he planted the seed. And that's why, looking back, when I speak to some of my friends, they always knew at a very young age where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. It was not that I was really, I think I was more inspired by what I got from Mr. Peterson. So he literally planted the seed that today, and that's why he was very happy when I became commissioner. And he was one of them that I always used to fall back on. That's why I said, being the commissioner, I always had people I could go back to, and he was one of my main advisors.
And not, I think you read my mind. I think you read.
You say
so
that,
I was
right?
like, the commissioner, yeah. I thought, oh yeah, the commissioner, yeah. Like, so you think of police force, law, and then you have the commissioner, the singer, you link to
Exactly.
Tsunami.
Yeah.
How would music play a role? Who how did you get on that track of music?
Look, from a very young age, as you know, growing up, brass band was the thing. You remember we had jamming brass and all of the
Yes.
brass bands.
Ooh, yes.
So and there it all started. So being part of the jamming brass scene, and I played the trumpet. At a given moment, I'm playing the trumpet. I don't know if you guys can remember the band Boys Next Door.
Yes, I mean, who can? Rusty, who can't remember?
Exactly,
Rusty,
Gario.
shout out to you.
Yes, yes, yes.
Gario, too.
Gario.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Exactly. And then I joined that group. And so we got into the musical scene. And what I have realized, and thank God for that, is, as you know, being a commissioner is a very tough job.
Yeah.
As you
I have
see,
questions about that. Yes.
as you see, people age very quickly when they assume that responsibility.
But they say black don't crack, so we
Exactly,
wouldn't notice
that's
it by
true,
you.
that's
We
true,
would not
that's true.
notice it by you.
But what I have to give credit to is still the music. It keeps you insane. As you know, our cognitive processes. The brain does not allow you to do music and think about stuff simultaneously.
have to
You have to
focus.
focus.
It's a
on
good
Yeah.
unstressor.
Yeah.
Good
Yes.
unstressor.
Yeah.
Correct. Miss
That's-
Hoon,
Maybe that's why I can't stress. I'm not so good at music anymore. Shout out to all my musicians.
but you're a musician,
I
correct?
know.
Yes.
Oh wow.
So and that
Yeah.
gave the balance, and that was very instrumental in this job. Is the music part. People doesn't know how important that was, and luckily my minister in that time, we got a lot of criticism.
Right. I was
Believe me.
just going to
Something-
touch it because I can
Yes.
imagine in your position or
Yes.
any, because remember, Carnival is talking about problems and stuff that
Yes.
happen in the community. So it's usually always political. So
Exactly.
how were you able to pull that off?
No, that's why I said I was very grateful to my minister. That he said, "Listen, so long he complies with his responsibility, let him, take the steam off." And luckily, he understood that. So that was my balance to juggle between a very responsible job and music.
And spirituality
And-
by the sound of it as well.
Exactly.
You said something because you're not just a commissioner for being, having the stripes, the buttons, the whatever. I think I lost track of what is the process in terms of, of het schoudertje.
It's a lifelong learner because it
Yes.
kept on going and it kept on going in different directions.
Yes.
So for people as myself who don't know you personally that good, but I've always heard, you think, oh, the commissioner, no stress or stress. Can you tell me a bit about, what's the most challenging part of your work?
Yes.
question.
Of what was then,
that's-
yeah.
That
But still is, I guess.
Yes.
yeah, in a different way. That's what it's always is. I always say, and that's what that's advice I give to the people that came after me is you always have to keep in mind your decision, in spite of other jobs, is always scrutinized
Mhm.
by the public. Any decision you take
Comes
is
back to-
scrutinized by the public,
Mhm.
and it's mostly always a catch-22 position. You have 20% might agree with what you're doing and 80% not, or 80% agreeing.
That 20/80 rule applies in so many aspects of
Exactly.
life.
Doesn't matter what.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, in this specific case, you have to manage between a lot of what we call, hoe zeg je dat? Tegenstellingen.
Yeah.
So you have the politics you have to deal with,
Yeah.
because you really have to deal with politics. You have your personnel you have to deal with, and you
Yeah.
have your peers in which you have to deal with. So in that spanningsveld, you have to operate, and that makes the job stressful. There's no given moment in time where you can be relaxed. Sometimes I used to tell people, when you see me lying on the bed, you will only see me looking at the fan. The fan used to work very hypnotic. So you'll be looking,
Oh,
and I will
so-
just go with my thoughts. Don't think I'm relaxing. I'm thinking, okay, I have to do that. Oh, that problem is as large. So you're constantly busy with those
But then
thought
still,
processes.
besides the music, you need to be able to relax and step back. You
Yes.
always hear from sometimes when you step back from the situation, you can evaluate it. How do you do that?
Well, and that's why you have to grasp those moments. That's why I just give that's the advice I give also to the newcomers. Look at moment where you can even retreat, because you need it to process all the information that's coming to you, to process the decisions you have to take. So and that's something in this job you don't always get, because
Yeah, he has 2, 3
24,
phones.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I was like, is it something ringing?
Exactly.
Is there
Oh,
something going to pull up in
Interpol
front?
calling.
Constantly you're being approached, because if you
Yes.
really look at anything that happens here on the island, has to do with a decision of yours.
Yes.
If you really
Oh,
break
wow.
it down, anything you
Yeah.
can think of has to
Yeah.
do with the decision coming
And
from
you-
the commissioner.
and let me just say, for everyone looking in, we know straight up
Yes.
conversation about education. We have
Yes.
Mr. Dolphy
Yes.
Richardson here in the house. Used to be a commissioner, but now high in Interpol. So we'll go into that in a bit. He was explaining his trajectory, but also the challenges of being at the top of any organization. I think for us, we said it in the previous part, people look at you sometimes and think,
Yes.
oh, Dolphy, you buy a bigger car, you buy a bigger house, you go on vacation, make assumptions about that person. But
Right.
it takes a lot to own up to that responsibility when you're there. And I always think, as we said, referring back to politics, if you're not going to take the heat or be in that fire,
Exactly.
Get out.
cut out, but then do
kitchen.
not complain. Let us not. Let us.
So
Let
I
us
would
not.
say,
Yes.
seeing that tomorrow is Flag Day, and we
Yes.
want to uplift a community, and we are being resilient through the
Yes.
years starting in 1976, come to know. So let's be resilient and accept and be more tolerant towards
Thank you.
everyone in the community. But we mentioned the word Interpol a few times, and you see, Director NCTVE. So I want to
Yes.
let's take a thank you so much for sharing your trajectory with us. But now let's get into the hot business of, sometimes we say money laundering, but it's money laundering, human trafficking, much more. So tell us exactly what you do but everybody knows Interpol, but what is
What is?
NCTVE?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for that. Normally we use exactly Interpol because that's something people have feeling
From the movies,
yeah,
from the movies.
yeah,
But
they
we
that-
created an image around that.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But what my department is what we call the National Central Bureau for Counterterrorism, Security, and Interpol. So Interpol is part of the whole department.
Oh, wow. That's a
Based-
mondvol,
Yeah,
hè?
that's a
Yeah.
month.
But herhaal eventjes. I'm looking
Yeah.
at
It's the National
Nationaal.
Central Bureau
Uh-huh.
for Counterterrorism, Security, and Interpol. So in Dutch is het Nationaal Centraal Bureau voor Terrorismebestrijding, Veiligheid en Interpol.
Interpol.
dat verklaart
And for
het.
those for Interpol, because
Yes.
it's the International Criminal Police Organization, commonly known as Interpol,
Yes.
is an international organization that facilitates worldwide police cooperation and crime control.
Exactly.
So what does that have to do
That's a
with
lot.
Yeah, I was like, when you hear transnational crime, control, I was like, oh, that's big thing, banks, blah blah, offshore banking, blah blah blah.
Are you right? Are
Yeah,
you
what,
wrong?
what about me?
Yeah. No, basically Interpol is a community, is a police community in
Okay.
which what they try to do is make a network and try to get all the police organizations in the member countries. It's their strive to be worldwide, but I mean we have net geen 200 members. So in that sense,
So countries. So
yeah,
members
countries
is
are a member
correct,
of
yes.
Interpol, and so you have to look at it like this: in each country where Interpol is a member, that is a member of Interpol, we have what we will call the four portaal, and those are the NCBs. Those are the National Central Bureaus,
okay.
and
Yeah.
they talk to each other. We have an international network in which we communicate on a safe manner with each other. So what?
You said a safe manner. Huh?
Yes.
It's a really safe.
Yeah, secure. A
Secure.
secure man. Let's use the word
Yeah.
secure.
You see why it's secretive, I say, Cherise? Secret intelligence.
But sometimes I was just because I'm trying to put some information on a comment box, because as lifelong learners, we want you
Yes.
to learn more about Interpol.
Yes.
And especially about the transnational action, because Angela just talked about the money laundering,
Yes.
but it's more than that.
It's a lot more than that.
Give us another example.
As you see, crime nowadays, especially with the new technology, has no borders.
Yes.
Before, crime used to be taking place in
Kinangmis.
kinangmis, as they say. But crimes nowadays have no borders. You have
Internet, yeah.
cyber crimes. That's all crimes that committed via internet and et cetera, et cetera. You have human trafficking
Yeah.
that has to do with borders. So you have different emerging crimes that are coming up that has no borders. So that's why, and you've seen a lot of transnational crimes that are where the big bucks is, where you make the money.
Yeah.
All has to do with transnational crime. So that's more lucrative for people to get involved in those type of crime because that's where you make the money.
And
Okay. All right.
You go, you go,
Okay.
you go, Cherise. You go,
I
you
want
go.
you to break that down, because what I also read when we were talking about transnational crimes, that it moved from the big cities to the smaller cities because somehow we're an easier target,
Oh,
or we're
country.
easier to hide.
Yes.
So that's one question. How can we be aware of that? Because I'm still
Yeah.
like, it doesn't really concern me.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't have no, so
Exactly.
please,
That's a good question. And I'm very happy with that question. Why? And that's why even being a small destination, being a small country, what criminals do, they look for means where it's less regulated. So if you're living in a country that has no rules, and like say for counter money laundering rule,
Yeah.
I will take my business there because
Yeah.
there's no regulation. So that attracts crime.
Yep.
So and so that's it's business. And I say, sometimes if you really analyze how the organized crime works, we can learn from them.
You know, they
Yes.
always said, my husband looking at Narcos and many of those Netflix series,
And
and
that's what reference I wanted to make.
yeah,
to yes.
they are. He
Right.
always said, and I don't mean to insult anyone or say anything wrong, but if you look at drug deals, they are the one of the
Yes.
smartest set of businessmen out there, and it's a pity it's not
Yes.
used what I would consider for a better purpose.
Correct.
But as you said, back
Strategize.
then it started a lot of the times in the smaller rural areas
Rural
and
areas.
went into cities.
Correct. Because
know,
there
Now
was
they're
the,
moving
Back.
yeah.
So you see,
Yeah.
everything it goes back to the
that
beginning.
was the
Yeah.
demand in the
It's-
bigger cities. Had the
Yeah.
demand and they had the supply. So
But
it's,
now we have internet, so the demand can
Yes.
still be big. So how is this whole cyber activity
Yeah.
taking place? Because now the demand is bigger. So they always say police is fighting crime, but not international crime, because
Yes.
there's so much going on a higher level.
Yep.
So
yes.
how is Aruba contributing to that? And
Yes.
how are we
Yeah.
working together? And I don't know, could you share a bit of that? Is
Yeah,
it
and
okay?
that's why I do encourage that we put more attention in and being part of communities as Interpol, because what Interpol introduces you to other international platforms and where you can, let's say, if you want to combat crime, let's say we have an hacker in Ukraine,
Okay.
he hacks your account here in Aruba.
Happens.
How do
yeah.
you
Oh,
get
yes.
to that fellow? I mean, if you
And
have
what-
no treaty, I mean, how can you get to that?
I know the first person I call
Perpetrator.
911.
Now when I call in the bank, save my account, close
Yeah.
off
Yeah.
everything, you know.
But it studies cero pepita de dinero.
Yeah.
What he
Yeah.
done with, he done gone with half of
Yes.
your salary.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to, you need that international cooperation if we want to combat these types of crime, because mostly the perpetrator is not living within your jurisdiction.
So, you know, I feel a lifelong learning lecture coming up here with FIU
You know,
and Interpol. Someone
Yes.
flustered secretly, someone mentioned, I wouldn't say who, that, you know, you guys were looking
Yeah.
into something. And I said, you know, tell your leidinggevende, University of Aruba Center for Lifelong Learning is here to
excuse me,
partner with.
Excuse me, he is the leidinggevende. This
Yes,
is the director.
but now I
now we
told them,
know.
Sharice, I told them, after this, I will go on him and hawk him
Yes.
and lock him down for that.
Yeah,
Yes.
because I think it's so important. Because again, I was just asking this question because we always assume that it's more than us and doesn't happen directly. And now with the whole cyberspace, it's so easier and we're easy target because we don't have all the means. Now, do we have all the means, or are we only are we depending on those outside? And do we depend on our citizens, or can our citizens have anything to do with this, or
Yes.
be actively involved?
Yes, and that's why I'm happy with institutions such as mine and the one from Mr. Breiter.
The FIU.
Correct,
Yes,
because
yes.
what we basically work on is on awareness. Once
Yeah.
you're aware, you can work on your resilience side. Okay. The traditional policing was always targeting the perpetrators. If you
Yeah.
look at crime, it's what we call it the crime triangle.
Yes.
And in order for crime to take place, you need a perpetrator,
Uh-huh.
you need a target,
Uh-huh.
and you need opportunity. Most
Always,
traditional,
yes.
yes.
Okay,
Without those
yes.
three in combination, you have no crime. If you pull away one, you don't have no crime. If you don't have a perpetrator, you don't have no
No.
crime.
Yeah.
If you don't have a target, you don't have no crime. And if you don't have an opportunity, you don't have no crime.
And it actually brings me back to someone always tells me, any type of crime of burglary is just a form of opportunity.
Yes.
And it's like, oh yeah, okay. It's leaving your window open. It's
It's
just you
opportunity.
providing that opportunity.
Right,
Because
right.
the burglar will always be there.
Exactly.
And the
Yeah.
victim would be,
Exactly.
So it's people be mindful, be aware
Yeah.
of everything you do and who are you in this
Right.
triangle
And
actually.
then, right, I don't think it wouldn't happen to you.
Yes,
Because
certainly.
it can. Yeah.
Yeah. But you were saying something, I just heard you said, you mentioned that in our conversation. You said building a resilient community.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
that sounds nice. How do we do it?
Yeah.
Where do we start? And who has to be part of this?
Well, and that's why I said, so what we normally do, and I will answer your question with my where I was going with my introduction.
okay.
No problem. The traditional institutions usually targeted the perpetrators.
Trader.
But now you're having
Yes, on
a
the
new approach,
change
and that's
of-
where we coming.
Yeah,
We're
change
not
the
interested in the
name.
perpetrators. We're interested in resilience. So as you said, you need a target. So if we can focus our
Interesting.
emphasis on the
Wow.
target, on the community, and making them aware and making them resilient, you also is countering that type
So-
of
Yeah.
So poor Cherise then,
Yeah.
for her to be, mindful and resilient and
Yes.
aware, what are just simple things that she can do that, so as you say, they hack her bank account. How
Yes.
did they get there? Is it
Just-
because she was all over the place with that?
Just to give an example now, so we've seen, as
Yeah.
you all know, Microsoft has been attacked.
Yes.
Right? So a lot of
Yes.
people's
Yep.
systems are compromised. So what we do as agency, we will send out steps they can take in order to mitigate the threats, or they
Okay.
can, yeah.
And to who are you sending it out? Not to
Okay,
me.
right now the stakeholders, but I mean in other
Okay.
ways, when it's a
So-
crime that really pertains
Yeah.
to the community,
Community.
we will get out there and try to be in
Okay.
front and educate the community what they can do.
So
Okay.
I think Center for Lifelong Learning, you have something set up for the second part of this year,
Yes.
because we're going to be having
And FIU/Interpol/
yes,
creating
because-
awareness and crime,
Right.
intelligence, secret, whatever. We think of the name.
Yeah, because one of our code that we use is don't be ignorant. Don't think
Yes.
it can't happen to
It
you.
can, yeah.
Okay.
And we're talking about bank account, we're talking about leaving the door open, but how could you be a victim and not knowing it? Somebody, comes say, hey, yes, I do this, because sometimes we think it's a criminal, we think it's a drug, but it doesn't have to be.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So what-
Crooks come in jackets these days too.
Right.
Yeah.
So what would you say, community out there, be aware of some things that been happening? I don't know if you may, or just mention a few, topics that you go like, look, these are areas that we need to pay attention to.
Well, if you go to our site, what we try, as you
Yes,
know,
I'll pull it up.
Yeah, what's the website,
Yeah,
Cherise?
we have a Facebook page.
Oh,
We
wow.
didn't work on our site yet, but we have a
Tell them the
page.
Facebook page. Just
That's
what's
the
it?
NCTV
Okay.
Aruba, and then you will get our Facebook page.
I'm going to
And,
like it immediately. Need to be on top. Yeah.
and there we try to still
Let me
educate the
like it for
people.
that. Yeah.
We had a cyber awareness campaign a couple of months back, in which every week we were issuing steps that you ask, what can we do as a community to build our resilience? If you go to our website, there you can learn about the different emerging threats
Okay.
and also the threats that are taking place. And there you can always, so we're not responsible, and we
Yeah.
don't cover the whole crime field, but what we're responsible for is cyber crime.
Okay.
And
So I just saw that you guys updated 6 hours ago,
Yeah.
creating a safer world together. I like that
Exactly.
as slogan. How to protect your Wi-Fi home network audience. It's on their Facebook page. So I would say
Yes.
look into that.
look into that.
Yeah,
Yes.
coincidentally, I was zapping somewhere on TV last night. I can't remember the name. And they were talking about hacking and how artists, but people are hacked these days for their pictures. And, you would see those memes coming by and those pictures where
Exactly.
individuals, and it could be responsible, people standing in a community where their pictures are used for porn.
Exactly.
And there was a name for it. I can't remember
Deep
the name.
fake, and that's a
Deep
very
fake. Thank you.
it's a very
Yes.
dangerous technology that's
And-
out there.
So and when you think about protecting your Wi-Fi at home, I think we as a community, and I know Aruba, I think how many percent of people are on Facebook, Cherise? Again, of the community,
They
like
said in
six.
Aruba, it's about 80-something
80-something
percent,
percent,
because
yes,
in
it's
Aruba, people
80%.
use Facebook. We have the Instagram, we have the TikTok,
Yeah.
but everybody in Aruba
Facebook.
is on Facebook.
But it's
Yeah.
also good to know what it is you're putting on there, because you might
Exactly.
think, "Busano son pida branca chiquito," but they
No.
just need a victim and an
An
opportunity,
opportunity.
and the perpetrator will take advantage of your
Exactly.
identity. So, I just want people to be aware. We use Facebook to post as much as we want, and everyone should know. But I think we need to be mindful and careful out there.
Exactly.
So,
And that's what we try to do. Just throw it out there and hope people read
yeah.
and apply.
And you said it, read. Again,
Right.
people, we don't like to read, but people,
Yes.
there's always a video to look at, there's
Yeah.
always a short article, there's always a Facebook post. You just need, because the Facebook post itself is not even such a long one. So, become lifelong learners and take your learning into your own hands and really know what's going on out there. So
Yeah.
that's what I have to say.
We can't afford to live in a bubble anymore.
No,
As I
definitely
said.
not.
Yeah. So it's 4 o'clock, Deborah. And I was like, okay,
There's
I still
more
have three
questions.
questions here.
Ask your
but
question quick. Put
No, no,
Rich.
no,
Put.
wait.
What are they radio? What are auto? No, what are
Poots
auto?
Tanaka remember Poots TV, and also shout out to Massive for all the different programs they have right now.
Yes.
So already shout out to the Massive family and Allison, sending energy to you today because he's having a really hard day, but we have your back here. We have your back here.
Thank
But,
you. Definitely.
Great.
yeah, Dolphy. So the police is working together with different companies. We're talking about building a resilient community. We're coming to the end of the program, and we're looking forward. I'm just looking at Deborah. We're looking forward that the Center for Lifelong Learning will organize, I think, a few practical workshops.
I think it would be definitely
Yes, engaging people to understand that we may be a small island, but we're not out of the scope.
Thank
Exactly.
you.
So, having said that, what would you like to share with our audience, our Facebook viewers, or the massive 1 and 3.5 audience
Yes.
when we're talking about transnational crime and being a part and being aware of what's happening here on our island?
As you say, our motto is creating a safer world together, which means your participation is key in this. So though it's not mainly the responsibility of the police organization or agencies, the security agencies for your safety, you also have a hand and a responsibility in that. So I said to educate yourself, learn about the threats they're out there, because we're living in an information age in which a lot of,
Right.
let's say, this ontwikkelingen en technologische ontwikkelingen brings
Now.
their challenges also, and also their threats. It's very nice. We can easily take up our apps and get things done with the touch of a.
How many apps do you have on your phone, by the way?
Not many, because I know the risk of having those apps on
You
my
see?
phone.
Okay. Just quick. Put in reach.
My IT coordinator
We'll
go
come
like,
back.
Charisse, you need to have a password. Don't write it down. Try to remember it. Oh my God, I'm so bad at that.
We'll have a conversation
Right,
about
right.
this.
Yes.
I think it is important. But sorry, we interrupt just so we can really
Yes. Wrap it up, yeah.
wrap it up today.
Yes.
So everyone, remember, it happens here. It happens in Aruba. You can be
Definitely.
part of that triangle. So
Yeah.
please be aware. Don't have a lot of information. Make sure you read. Be informed. Look at the website. We just put it up on our comments.
Yep.
And having said that, we would really like to thank you for this inspiring and informative conversation.
Thank you.
And let me
Deborah.
ask, so Dolphy, we asked Angelo, we knew he was a cook.
Yeah.
So what is Dolphy good at? Are you a cook?
Music,
Dolphy?
No,
Yeah,
but
music,
say-
I'm
next to
music.
that, in the
Yeah,
kitchen. Are you good in the kitchen?
I'm terrible in the kitchen.
Okay,
so
no,
I
not
buy
asking.
food. I buy food. I'm
Okay.
tremendous at buying food.
Helping the community drive the economy. Very good.
Right,
Exactly. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much for all our Facebook listeners.
Yeah, thank
This
you.
is straight up conversation about education, and stay pending. Remember, mark your calendar. March 25th. This is Thursday. Next week at 6, we will have a virtual open house, because become a lifelong learner, and remember, higher education opportunity is there for you.
For everyone.
Right. Education is no problem. Education is an opportunity. We have
Grasp
to
it.
grasp it, use it, and be wise about it. Because why pay so much of money while the University of Aruba offers you local experience and a global opportunity? So thank you so much for our Facebook listeners. We're going to say goodbye. Thank you so much again,
See you guys
Commissioner.
next week.
Thank
Sharice.
you.
Next week.
Yes, next
You have a very
week.
interesting theme. Stay pending for
yes,
that.
it's going to be your dating teenagers, child abuse. Yeah,
Oh,
it's social work month,
yes.
and yeah.
It is. Yesterday was Social Work Day, International Day, and we
yes.
had a lecture at the university. And the lecturer, the speaker,
She
will be
is
there
going
next
to
week
be
to talk
here.
about it. Please tune in, because it is
Tune
very
in.
important for you if you have kids, but just community, to be informed.
Right, like building a resilient community is being informed.
Being
So
informed.
thank you so much. This is straight up conversation about education, and we hope to see you next week.